highest honor that the DFL Central Committee can award is membership into the DFL Hall of Distinguished Service. Each year, the party elects up to 4 people to that body, and we did that at a meeting last summer. Today, we are going to present the certificates to those people. The first person we're going to recognize is Alec Olson. Alec Olson was elected chair of the Candiota County DFL at age 23. He was elected to Congress at age 32. He was the state's first president of the Senate. He was lieutenant governor. He has been a stalwart of the DFL party for nearly 60 years. Thank you, Alec. Can you come up, please? Central Committee of the Democratic Farm Labor Party of Minnesota, Alec Olson has been elected to the DFL Hall of Distinguished Service. Would you like to address the body?
How could a previous office holder not want to take advantage of such an opportunity? It warms an old DFLer's heart to see so many enthusiastic DFLers representing the state of Minnesota's DFLers here today. We are deep in good hands. I can see nothing but good things coming. It would be so much fun to dwell on history, but history is only good for learning things from it, not just dwelling in it. And I know there is a great future. When I get a little despondent about things, reading the Wall Street Journal, for instance, I can go glance at what I've got in file yet from my congressional days called the Nut File. And believe me, a Tea Party Republican named Bachman hasn't got any new ideas. They're all in that Nut File that's 25, 30 years old. I was asked if I had a mentor, and my mentor, of course, was Hubert Humphrey.
Yay!
And with all his attributes, his one in which he was most famed for was he never quit talking when he got the mic. Now, I know better than that. I have too many failings to think that that would be anything I could pull off here this afternoon and bore you further. But since you're not going to do any business till the lunch people come back, I wouldn't do that to you. But it is something. I think back and I think about how easy things were, and I suppose that's disputable. But when I was a senator, I remember when I was presented with the fact that women couldn't inherit in the same vein or the same amount as a male could in Minnesota. Awful! It wasn't easy to say that was wrong. But, you know, the future is just full of opportunity, and the one thing I think, for instance, comes to mind that we have to remember is when we dispute the 11 million persons that we would like to see granted citizenship in this country, let us remember that the only reason China's doing so well is they got so darn many people. And maybe we better welcome the fact that as myself represents only, 130 to the future, and that we will build on the past, and we will solve those problems that are ahead of us, and we'll do it because of the enthusiasm of persons like yourself. Thank you very much.
Also honored Jan Rain, who just retired as receptionist at the party. Jan, no one heard more complaints about the DFL than Jan Rain. And she dealt with them in a way that I know I never could have. As many of you know, Jan has had health problems and she could not be here today. On Thursday, I presented her certificate to her and we recorded a message from her.
Thank you for this award. I'm excited about receiving it, along with so many others that I've received. But this is especially nice. Thank you. And I appreciate all of you that thought of me for this, to accept this award. Also, I'd like to thank you for sending cards and flowers and thanking me once again in the hospital. I'm sorry I up and left the boat before my time, and retiring, but I find that I can kind of live with that retirement. But I do miss the DFL, and I do love you all. Thank you for everything.
She thanked us, but I know we all thank her. The next presentation is to Rick Nelson. What can you say about Rick? To me, he was a mentor and a friend. The party dearly misses him. I would like to present his certificate to Kathy Nelson.
Rick, thank you. His heart was always with the DFL. He spent countless hours with the party, and it was a true joy for him, both meeting all the people and sort of acting as chair is one of the things he truly loved to do with the Constitution Commission. So this is appreciated by our whole family. Thank you.
Our last inductee was Elmer Kelm. Elmer Kelm was the last chair of the Democratic Party of Minnesota. He was the first chair of the Democratic Farmer Labor Party of Minnesota. He's the one who got us going. We owe him a lot. His legacy, though, is not just in the organization, but in his family. It's worth noting that his son, Tom, was chief of staff for Governor Wendy Anderson. His other son, Doug, was chair of the Metropolitan Transit Commission. His granddaughter, Michelle Kelm-Helgen, is currently the chief of staff for legislative affairs for Governor, it's good to say that, Governor Mark Dayton. And I wish to present his certificate to Michelle Kelm-Helgen.
called, along with the chair of the Farmer Labor Party, to DC. And essentially Roosevelt said in his last election, we need these parties to come together, or there's a risk that we may not maintain control of the Democratic Party in Minnesota. So they worked and put together the merger, and then my grandfather, Elmer Count, was actually the first Democratic Farmer Labor chair. And we are all still united together because of that. He also ran Hubert Humphrey's first successful mayoral campaign. As I grew up, my father, who had another profession outside of politics, always maintained he always stayed on as chair and a member of the board of the 2nd District DFL. And he always told us from the time I was young, politics is an honorable profession. That was sort of one of the rules that were passed down from his father, Elmer Count, and we grew up thinking about that. My dad, as Jules mentioned, had the honor to serve as Chief of Staff for Governor Wendell Anderson and later as Senator Wendell Anderson. I now have the unbelievable honor to serve as the Deputy Chief of Staff for Legislative Affairs for Governor Mark Dayton, who is going to be a fabulous governor.
Hey, 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 hey!
My son Thomas was here earlier this morning with Attorney General Lori Swanson. And my daughter Bridget actually is out in D.C. working for Democratic Senator Mark Pryor as press secretary. My dad always passed along a second rule that my grandfather had always lived by. And he talked about this a lot. And actually, the day that he died, we were all together at the hospital. And my daughter came in. She had actually been out in Washington, D.C. on a trip for high school. And she came in and told them that she had met with Mark Dayton, and Mark Dayton had sent his best wishes. And his last words to her were, in that conversation, he said, "Remember what your great-grandfather always said. People are counting on